Guys, welcome to the first episode of the Legacy Podcast. This is an introduction episode, so you guys get to know me a little bit and why I've actually made the series in the first place and where the podcast has come from, what sort of influenced me, what brought me to this place of wanting to create something like this. So first of all, my name is Vipul Bhesania. It's quite a hard name to pronounce if you don't know me already. But yeah. So you can call me Vips or V or whatever it is. I don't know. It's easier for some people to just shorten the name. But yeah, so I wanted to make this introduction episode because I wanted you guys to understand where this whole concept of creating a podcast called the Legacy Podcast came from. And I wanted to just dig a little bit into my story so you have a backdrop as to what sort of brought me to this point in the first place and why I'm doing what I'm doing. So just taking it back a little bit, I studied law at university, and at school I went to Lambton School. So that school is in West London, and for A levels I did English, history and economics. So these were all subjects that I enjoyed and I naturally found myself strong in compared to like maths and science. I fucking hated maths and I wasn't good at science, but I ended up doing law because those are the subjects that pretty much backed up a degree of that nature. So, I went to University of Kent in Canterbury, which is like south of London, just outside London. And I loved the degree. I enjoyed doing it. It was a lot of theory, a lot of learning how to build arguments and building your case and enhancing your vocabulary and studying and reading. So I enjoyed it. But I always knew, the back of my mind, as I was going through it, something didn't sit right. Like this wasn't going to be the rest of my life. And that came to light probably in my final year of university. So in my final year, I was living with one of my best friends, Obin. He also was studying law, and I lived with two other guys as well. But the thing is, like going through that year, it opened my mind up to so many different things because I started speaking about philosophy with him, about lots of different books on destiny, and basically that year opened my mind up to so many new concepts that I didn't even know where they were coming from. Like I was watching stuff online on YouTube. I started researching more things about business, and it was all like a whole new world had opened up to me. And then I realized, having a 9 to 5 isn't what I wanted to do. So for me, it was always about exploring alternate ways of living and finding out what else there was out there in the world. I wanted to figure out what this feeling was. I was getting a feeling of doing something great, but I didn't know what it was and I didn't know how to channel it. But I knew it was business related in some shape or form. Now, at the same time that this was all going on, a year prior, so I'm talking about 2013, so a year before, 2012, I went through a very, very, very bad skin disorder. And this was something that just came on me randomly. Like I didn't do anything. I wasn't drinking heavily. Well, sort of, but we're at uni, so sort of, but not that much. I definitely didn't smoke or do drugs, but it was something that really annoyed me because I didn't know where it come from. And I thought, at least, from what I was doing, I was eating relatively healthy, going to the gym, so basically a normal student life. Like I wasn't doing anything out of the ordinary, right? And this whole thing had come on me like a ton of bricks randomly. And I went to the doctors because I had a rash behind my legs, on my neck, on my face, on my arms, on my back, on my chest. It was everywhere. And it was so painful because I couldn't move the areas of the body that I wanted to freely without being in pain. So I went to the doctors and I went to figure out what is actually going on here. And they referred me to a specialist, and a specialist referred me to a specialist. And basically, long story short, they said to me, I'm allergic to certain foods. So I said, okay, let me cut these out. So that sort of helped. And I took steroid tablets and steroid creams that they prescribed. And I was basically full of medical drugs and medical creams for a long time. And then coming out of that period, it basically allowed me to reflect and see what I'd learnt from it. So when I came out of that period a few years later, when things died down a little bit and I sort of started to heal, like I'm still not fully healed now, but I slowly started to heal, and I realized that it was building mental strength and a mental capacity for me to build character and to build inner strength and perseverance, because I honestly felt like quitting my degree so many times because I was in so much pain. Like I couldn't turn my damn neck to check if it was safe to cross the road. Like I would have to turn my whole body just to give you an idea of how painful it was. But I went through it. I had that warrior mentality of nothing's going to stop me, and I saw myself graduating. I wanted to do it for myself and for my parents, because I'd started the degree and I told them, look, I'm going to finish whatever I said I'm going to start, I'm going to finish. So after a few years, I met a spiritual teacher, because I got sick of constantly going to doctors and not sort of getting an answer. So I met a spiritual teacher basically, and he was like, look, stop fighting it and learn to accept that it's part of your journey. It will go away, it will heal, because you're on the path to healing. I can see clearly from where you were to where you are now. But the more you fight it, the more it is going to hurt, and the more problem you're going to cause, mental conflict you're going to have. So I said, all right, cool, let me just think about what he'd said. And naturally I've started to come to terms with it and said, look, it is part of my journey, I'm proud of it, I went through it, I battled it. It's something that has made me a stronger person and a stronger character because of it, and I'd rather it happen to me than anyone else in my family. So that's how I've sort of taken away positives from it. Now, going back to that affecting me in my final year. My final year, I got an email, right, from a workshop that was happening a few months into my final year, and this was about business, a business workshop, and a guy who owned his own insurance company was going to come over to our university and give a talk. So I read the email and I was like, this seems interesting. So I told my mate, I was like, look, let's go and check it out. It seems interesting. So we went, and as the guy was talking, I had an idea of creating an iPhone app, because he was talking about apps and lots of different business concepts. And I thought, this is back in 2013 or 2012 actually. And then I thought, wow, this is something we can actually do, and this is something we can embark on. Like, we love working out and going to the gym, etc. Why don't we make a gym app or something along those lines? I can't remember exactly, but we ended up creating 2 different apps. It wasn't exercise related in the end. It was like a wallpaper customization app, but that was the first business. And so I left university having started this business, drawing up concepts for it and things after graduating, and coming back from India, because I went to India straight after graduating. So coming back from that, I embarked on this journey of really thinking about what it is I wanted to do with my life, because it was time to go to law school, and I was like, shall I go, shall I not? And I thought, you know what, I don't actually know what I want to do 100%, let me go to law school. So I went, and going to law school was almost a blessing in disguise. So I paid a lot of money to go, but I paid the money to actually realize that I didn't want to do law. It was an investment, because going to law school, I realized this isn't the sort of work I want to do day to day. This is bullshit. This isn't what I want to do. This isn't how I want to spend my time. So I decided to take up a job on the side. It was a retail sales job, and I just stayed there, worked a few days a week, and then the rest of the time I was just working on my businesses, right? So I was building up the apps, and then eventually, long story short, I released the apps into the App Store, made a little bit of money, but it wasn't what I thought, because at this point I thought, I'm gonna be a millionaire. This is gonna work. This is gonna be amazing. This app's gonna blow up. And of course, that wasn't the case. It never is. So I then decided, right, I need to move on to a different business concept. So I can't remember what I did, but there was a whole host of things that I did in the middle. One of them being eBay. That was the most profitable. But then the products I was selling, apparently I didn't have a license for it, so I had to shut that down. And basically they shut down the whole account that I had opened. So I then had to move on to something else, and I moved on to affiliate marketing because one of my friends from university, or one of my friends actually from university, was doing it, and he was doing really well. Amazon affiliate marketing. So I started there, and I started making a bit of money. I learned SEO, etc. However, all of this, whilst doing all of this, I had an Instagram account. See, this is where the Legacy podcast comes in, because I had an Instagram account, personal Instagram account, that I had started in my final year of university, or I think it was my second year. And it was a personal page, right? It was a personal page. And I'd only posted things that I was doing on a day-to-day. And eventually, as I embarked on this journey and finished university and delved deeper into the business side of things, I began to read more. I began to watch more things relevant to motivation, inspiration, business, leadership, and living an alternative lifestyle. And so those were the things I started to post. I posted other people's content. But as I started to go further and further down the journey, I realized that I had my own thoughts. I had my own feelings that I wanted to share, because I'd now started on this journey of doing something on my own, which none of my friends or family were really doing. So I didn't really have anyone to turn to apart from my best friend, who was actually my business partner throughout all these ventures that we'd done. So I started sharing that on Instagram, just out of the pure fact that I was passionate about it and I wanted other people to hear about it and see it, because I was genuinely experiencing it along the way. And so that's what I did. And then over time, I realized that actually I don't want this to be a personal brand anymore. I need to turn it into an actual brand. And so I took a lot of time to think about what name would suit best, based on what I value in my life and what I think is most important. So after coming up with a series of names, Know Your Legacy was one of them. That really stuck to me. And I still have the document where I listed a load of names that I was choosing from, and I had loads of asterisks marked next to Know Your Legacy to show me that that was the one that I'd chosen. And I ran with that name, and it stuck with me. And so I started posting, and the followers went up and up and up. And then last year, I think it was at the start of last year, I had set up a few more affiliate websites, and then something happened midway through the year, or just at the start of the year, towards the middle of the year. I'd had a conversation with someone that had made me realize that what I was doing wasn't going to be feasible for the long term in terms of that particular vehicle, the Amazon affiliate websites that I was doing, in the way that I was doing them. It was going to take too long, and it wasn't it wasn't heading in the right direction for where I saw my life going. So I took a long time to think about where it was I wanted to go and what I wanted to do. And so after much thought and much reflection, I thought, right, this sales job that I'm in, it is boring me. I don't know anyone new. I'm one of the hardest working here when I apply myself, and it's not pushing me because the people around me are not really striving to do anything or to do what I want to do. So I said, right, I need to think about where it is I want to go next. So I still need a job to self-sustain, and I also need to think about my business venture that I want to do next, because I'm not accepting failure. Failure is only a part of the journey to success. It's the same path. As long as you keep walking it, you will never stop at failure. You will end up to the door of success if you keep walking. So I thought, okay, let me take a few months out. So I thought about what I wanted to do, and I decided I want to go into a place where I can earn commission and be in a challenging environment where I am forced to learn how to network, to cold call, to present, to meet people of higher caliber than myself. And so after doing some thinking, I went into recruitment. And that's the profession, or the sales profession, that I'm doing now. And I think for some of you who are in the US or in like other countries, that would be human resources almost. So that's what I pursued. And then I started thinking about Know Your Legacy. I was like, this is something I'm most passionate about. I really want to pursue this. I want this to be my message. I want this to be the thing that I make money from. So I started really thinking about my values and where I wanted to go and what had happened that would now make me decide that this is the path that I need to take now. Because there was that turning point, as I said to you guys before, that conversation that had happened, where it made me rethink. So I then started to think about who it is I wanted to help. I knew I needed a mentor, so I thought, okay, cool. The one person that I really love to speak to and I'd love to connect with and to get help from is Joel Brown. So I made the decision deep down in my heart one day on the way to work that he was going to be the one that was going to help me and I was going to connect with him. So I wrote it down on my phone. I will be posting the day and the time that I actually wrote this in one of the articles that I release on the website soon. But for now, I'll just say it to you guys on here. I wrote it down. I said that he has to be my mentor, and that's decided. That's the end of that. So long story short, a week later, I got in touch with someone who then connected me to Joel, and I ended up on the phone to him 2 weeks later, speaking to him about becoming a student of his, or being a part of one of his mentorship programs. So everything works out exactly how you need it to work out if you have the right intention. So I thought, wow, this is actually picking up traction. Maybe this is what I need to do because it's opening the doors slowly. And then as I was speaking to him about where I wanted to take this brand, it wasn't a brand, it was more of a community. And I've always said that one of my dream days would look like me connecting with people. I just saw myself around the right people, saw myself around high-level individuals, powerful individuals, and me connecting and socializing and networking with them. That was just one of the thoughts that constantly reoccurred on my mind. And I thought, hey, a good way to do that would be a podcast. And it would allow me to connect with people, It would allow me to connect with all these people that I'm talking about. Because my whole thing was, I want to have fascinating conversations with interesting people. And that's exactly what the podcast has allowed me to do. And with God's grace, I will continue to do it. And the thing is, like, everything started to fall together because the job that I was in and what it was that I followed and decided to do, the skills I've learned there have transferred directly over to what I'm doing with the podcast. The skills I'm learning for networking, I'm using here. I'm learning to find a way to introduce myself to new people, which is exactly what I have to do in my day job. So, I created this podcast to share information with legends in the making, people who I feel are having an impact in the world right now. And those people are the ones that have found their purpose and are on their path, or at least seeking their path. Whether you're an amateur and you've just started, or you're a beginner, or you're a well-established business individual or well-established influencer in whatever space it is you're in, it doesn't matter. I want to share their message, and I want to do it in a way that's very conversational, so you guys feel like you're just eavesdropping into two friends talking, because that's what I find the most interesting. So that's basically where it's all going and where it's all come from. I know that in 20 minutes I can't say everything, but I wanted to break it down just in a nutshell so that you guys have an idea of who I am, where I'm coming from, and where I'm going, so that when you listen to the rest of the episodes, you actually have a better understanding of what I'm talking about and where it's all come from. So guys, please check this out on iTunes, check it out on YouTube, leave a review and share it with people that you think are going to find it interesting. I'm not doing this for myself, I'm doing it for the message of creating a legacy, because I don't think enough people think about that in today's day and age. So when I say subscribe, or when I say write a review, I'm not saying it because I want to see the numbers go up. I'm saying it because I want as many people as possible to hear this message, because I find it very instrumental in terms of where I want to push humanity and how I want to have my effect on humanity. So please, if you'd like it, DM me as well at Know Your Legacy. Tell me what you enjoy about the episodes. Tell me what you didn't enjoy or what you did enjoy, your favorite bits, quotes, or if you've got suggestions for people that you think I should interview. DM me. I will respond to everyone. I promise you I will respond to everyone. So that's it. I hope you enjoy all the episodes that are coming up. And yeah, please feel free to connect and reach out to me. As I said, at Know Your Legacy on Instagram. Thanks a lot, guys. And I look forward to connecting with you and everyone else again very, very soon.